Hey everybody, welcome to Beyond the Finish Line with Joe Hardin, and today we have a super special guest. Kirk Cherep is here today. He is an ultra runner himself, the race director of Trailblazer Running, co-owner of Tempo Run Training and Events, and just an overall super rad dude. And if without further ado, I'd like to bring him forward to chat. I'd also like to mention that I will be hosting June 18th at 5 p.m. Pacific time with guest Danny Contreras. Thank you, everybody.
What up? You hear me, Joe? Hi.
Hey, how's it going? I'll get that intro right one of these days.
You're all right. What's up? I'm stoked to be here. I'm so glad you invited me on. Hi. Still hear me, Joe?
Thanks for being here.
All right.
Well, I just want to get down into it. How did you get into running? I guess start there.
How did I get into running? So, I guess growing up, I was usually fairly athletic. Anytime we needed to run for a sport, I could do it. But my main sport growing up was wrestling. I did that all through middle school and high school, and then in 1 year in high school, I did something a little dumb and got on athletic probation, which meant I would need to miss my first few meets in wrestling the next season. And so to get out of that, I did cross country, which was the season before that. And so kind of went about it in a weird way, and then ran cross country in high school, found out I kind of liked running, but didn't stick with it until after college. Got back into running, actually through like OCR, Spartan races. Had a friend that was doing that. My brother encouraged me to do it too, and I found out I was like pretty decent at it, and started running through that. Also, the company I worked for at the time, you could get a free entry into the Chicago Marathon, so I signed up for that because I had a coworker that was peer pressuring me into it, and found out that I really liked like the every day, every other day, just getting out and running, and just felt like a better version of myself when I went out and run. So through training with Chicago Marathon and running some obstacle course races where I felt like I could be competitive and I could still like compete and get that competitive drive, I just kind of stuck with it. And then that's was kind of the gateways into trail running, because I started going down different rabbit holes on YouTube of following different athletes and what they were doing, and then saw things from like Billy Yang or the Ginger Runner or Run Steep Get High, and saw their videos of trail races, and it just looked so cool that I wanted to try myself. And I always loved being out in nature and feeling like I was athletic and, you know, getting my heart racing. So it's just kind of a natural fit. And now I just identify as a trail runner, and that's all I love doing now, you know, recreationally. And yeah, that's how I got into running.
You said road race is what got you in there and into running at first?
Yeah, road
Chicago
running
Marathon.
as far as training for Chicago Marathon, and then obstacle course racing. So OCR, like a Spartan race or Tough Mudder, that kind of stuff. There's some great local ones in Illinois too, like Abominable Snow Race,
Oh, cool.
and Highlander and stuff. But yeah, I really like that. I love the running portion of it. I was pretty good at it, so it was a natural fit there. And then just kind of focused more on trail running after 2019. I was kind of just all trail running.
Ah, cool. And you said, was it Day in the Life, the Billy Yang video, they got you into it? into trail running?
Yeah, it actually was. So I mentioned Billy Yang. I didn't say that video specifically, but it was that video specifically that I watched about the following those. It was like 4 women running the Western States 100. I think it was maybe 2016. That video, yes, that definitely got me into trail running. Seeing just what they went through and what all this sport is about and how you can really experience like day in a life out there on the trails. There's just something unique, something magical about pushing your limits to that extent that kind of strips everything down to like just this realness, this rawness that you get to when you're out there running for a full day out on the trails.
Yeah, our story is kind of similar there. It was The Why by Billy. I mean, like as soon as I saw the video, I was like, people run trails too. Like, so I pretty much, the rest is history there. That's pretty much what got me there. Well, cool, man. I have to ask, how did Trailblazer running come to be?
Trailblazer running. So I always liked kind of being on the back end of things, of events, of things that were going on. My mom had a business, or she would volunteer for different events and stuff. Like there's this cool big event in Naperville, Illinois, which is where I grew up, called Rib Fest, and she would volunteer for that, and she would be on kind of the back end things, and I would be with her like every summer. That, and I've got my stepfather-in-law runs some big softball tournaments, and I've helped out with those. And when I was really into wrestling tournaments, I would help out with some different wrestling tournaments. I love being on the back end of like events. And so when I got into trail running, I seen all these cool races that were out, maybe West or East Coast. I mean, I know there's some great ones around here too, but all the videos I'm seeing are about, West Coast races, East Coast races. Seeing like that level of an event, I'm like, I want to bring like that to here. Like I just wasn't seeing enough of that or of right around me. So I'm like, I think I can do it. Like I'm really interested in putting on events. I've done some stuff in the past, and I just want to bring like this production level of like a race event, a trail race event to Northwest Indiana. And so that was early 2020 is when I started like thinking, it was really 2019. I started thinking about that. There's some great trails just north of me at the Indiana Dunes National Park and State Park. And I was looking at what could I do to put something on there? And then I was finding out there's a lot of like permitting you have to go through for that. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I have close by where I don't have to go through all that? And there's some trails like a mile from my house called Creekside Trails, where actually you ran for Okotok. And I was looking at putting something there, and then it got into 2020, and COVID happened, and I was like, maybe I'll put a pause on this for a little bit. And then it wasn't until later in 2020 I got the like LLC for Trailblazer running. I put out stuff for the first race, which was False Spring Trail Runs, which is originally going to be at Creekside and was going to be it was going to be a different name. It was going to be in the summer, but then something happened with the trails and the infrastructure that was there, so I had to move it elsewhere. And it was in I got some great trails in LaPorte, Indiana, which is where my mother-in-law lives, that I've run a bunch, and I happen to have put that race on there. So I was thinking of putting on my first race. It was going to be at Creekside, but then I couldn't have it there, and so I last minute I found a new place to have it, and I still put on the race, and that was the first one in 2021 in March. So that's how Trailblazer running came to be in the first race we put on.
Oh, cool. Yeah, man, I'm just so jazzed what you're bringing to like the Midwest trail running scene. It's like, to your point, you see all this stuff at the East Coast and West Coast, and it's like Indiana and like the Midwest is like this hidden gem. I'm so glad that all these things are popping up, like all these, not just ultras, but even like the sub ultra stuff, like the Okotok, for instance. It's just super exciting to see all this stuff come up. Like, Trailblazer running, and then I know like Crazy Legs and some of the 10 mile stuff. It's kind of cool to see like all these things like sprouting right here. You don't have to necessarily go out west to experience all that. And that's what I loved about Okadoke. That was actually my second like sub ultra distance trail race. It's certainly one that meant a lot to me, obviously, as I've told you and written about. But um, so tell me about the concept of trail golf and how that came to
Oh
be.
yeah,
Actually,
so
I kind of need to know more about this.
for sure. Yeah, so you're gonna be coming out to help with that. So
Yeah.
trail golf was actually the first concept I had when I was starting up Trailblazer running. It was the first race I wanted to put on, but then I was realizing I just wasn't ready to roll that out. I didn't know enough about putting on races, and it was a lot of logistics, a lot of moving parts with it. And so I put that to the side and just was like, all right, I want to put on some kind of traditional race events and, figure out how all that works, get to know more people in the community, get to know volunteers, get to know runners before I roll this out. So what trail golf is it stemmed from a few things, one of which being a conversation I had with a good friend of mine that's really good with PR and marketing. And I was talking to him about how I want to start up some race company. And he was like, what would be great to like get more people out there is if you could find a way to like gamify running. And he brought up the example of like Top Golf. Have you ever been to like a Top Golf where it's like a driving range, but it's not just how far you can hit the ball. It's like there's little like goals you try to hit the ball into, and like you don't even have to be a good golfer, you can just have fun there. And so I was trying to think of different ways that I could like gamify the running. And I was like, okay, so traditionally running, it's how fast you can get from point A to point B. I'm like, how can I have some sort of a scoring system or points or make it more fun? And I came up with a bunch of different ideas, one of which was trail golf, where how it works is, if you're familiar with like, it's probably closely related to like a last person standing or like a backyard ultra. So in the sense that at the top of the hour, each hour you go out and you run a route. Difference being that for trail golf, there's a set number of rounds, or what we call holes, and there's it matters how fast you go. So for this iteration of trail golf that I'm having actually coming up, there's 9 holes, and each one is about 3 to 4 miles, equating to a 50K distance in total. So when I say there are about 3 to 4 miles, each hole is a different route. They all start and finish in the same spot, but it's a different pathway around the trail system that's here. So each one is unique. You're not doing the same thing over and over again. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but so how the scoring system works, You're like, okay, I think I get it. It matters how fast you go, because the time window that you finish in, you get a score. So like a stroke score, think of golf like eagle, birdie, par, bogey. It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strokes. So if you run the route in a sub 8-minute pace, you just eagled that hole. You got 2 strokes. If you do it in an 8 to 10 minute pace, it's a birdie, 3 strokes. Par is 10 to 12 minutes, and then it goes on from there. So you have an hour to do each route. Depending on when you get back, you get a score. At the end of the 9 holes, it's the least score. Whoever has the lowest amount of strokes wins. So there are time windows that you can finish in. So it's not just about how fast you go. It's like you need to strategize there. Like you don't want to. I would, if I was running it myself, I would strategize and try to get the most out of each of my points or my strokes. So like you would, if you have a window of 8 to 10 minute pacing, like you try to get closer to that slower thing so that you're not wearing yourself out and you get the same score. If there's, I know I'm throwing out all the rules here. If you if there's a tie-in score, it goes to the least amount of time on course. So that's the only time where it's really your true like time on course that matters. But other than that, it's the amount of strokes. So questions about that? I know I just threw a bunch out there.
Oh man, no, that is so cool. Like I had like obviously I've been on the website and I was like checking it out, but I didn't fully grasp it. So it is kind of like it is kind of like a backyard, which I love backyards too, but that is a totally different spin. That's super cool. Man, so how did that all come together? You're just like, that's it. Like this is. I know you said you had a guy that's good at PR marketing, but like, what made you like land on that one specifically?
I got a squirrel behind me that's like doing crazy things, so it's distracting me. But how did I land on that? So it just seemed like the least gimmicky gamified version I came up with. I came up with a few different ones that aren't fully fledged out that I don't need to share, but they're that one seemed like something that could like it was both fun and unique, and you could do it just for fun, but you could also be competitive with it. Like it's a form, like if you wanted to take it seriously and you're like, I want to win this thing, I want to compete with it, it works that way. Like you can go fast, or you can just take it. Maybe your goal is like, I just want to get bogeys every time, or I want to see if I can get a par one time. You can do it that way. You can try to like best yourself each hole. And it didn't start as fully fleshed out as it is now. Originally, I was just going to have it as the same route each time. But then I was like, it's not complicated enough. Let's make it more complicated. And I made each hole different, which is a fun sort of logistical nightmare in itself, because now I have to mark 9 different routes and have them differently marked so that people don't get them confused with each other, which I figured out a system for that, and hopefully it works well on race day.
Cool. Yeah, man, like I don't know if you remember this or not, but I got lost at Okodoke, which you marked very well. It wasn't your fault. It was me. I'm just terrible at it. So I bet I would just be, who knows where I'd wind up at trail golf. But yeah, that's so rad. Yeah. I didn't know if it had anything to do with there's a golf course close by, right? Or that might be
there is, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. There's the Creekside golf course, which is the trails kind of wrap around it. It wraps all around it. So yeah, there happens to be a golf course there as well, which is interesting. But we will not be running on a golf course at all. We won't be, hitting balls or, swinging anything. It's trail running. It just takes the scoring system from golf and a little bit of the theme and lingo from it to make it a fun kind of theme.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't want Hocus Speed Goats and Solomon's on their green anyways.
No, that might be frowned upon. Yeah, I don't know if they would like that. I don't know if I'm supposed to point them out, but I'm seeing some questions being posed.
Yeah, so we have a couple of questions in the back room, if you don't mind. Sorry, Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask this.
You want me to read them?
So do you think you have to gamify world? Would this have been something that you could have done 10 to 15 years ago? That's a good question too.
Well, I'm fairly young. 10 to 15 years ago, I was in high school, but 15 years ago I was. So I was not race directing, but so I don't know what the trail running landscape looked like back then. But do I feel I have to gamify the races to get people into it? No, I don't think I have to. I just want to because I think it's fun. It's interesting. I mean, with this concept being so new, I wasn't expecting to bring in a lot of people because just like yourself, like when you even reading through it, you're like, what is this about? How does this work? Like, that's the reaction I get from most people when they first hear about it. They're like, what? I don't really get it. And then I explain it a little bit and they're like, oh, that's so cool. That's awesome. I want to try that. But it takes a little bit. So if I was doing it to try to get more people involved, I'm going about it the wrong way because I'm making it very confusing. But I don't know. I think it's a way, like, why would I want to gamify it? One, it's fun. It's something different to try. If someone's like ran a bunch of races in the area or always done kind of traditional trail races, they might see it as something like, oh, that's a new challenge. That's something different. Kind of like how the backyard ultras took the trail running world by storm. It was like something different. It wasn't just about the fastest runner. So yeah, it can bring new people in once they understand the concept, but it can also like be something that brings in maybe people that don't consider themselves like runners or like don't haven't done like a traditional race or might be intimidated by it. They might be like, oh, this is fun. This is just like a fun thing that we're doing and I can do it with friends because there's a relay option for it. And maybe they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll just go and run one of these. That sounds like a fun thing. And I can bring people in that maybe wouldn't have done a race otherwise if it wasn't like in this format.
Yeah, I could see that, because I was intimidated by ultra distance, like a standard ultra distance trail race. So I went backyard to get my first ultra distance, and I could see that as well. Like, it's kind of like you get to wet dip your toes a little bit and not, maybe participate in like some big out and back or something that might scare you, or like I was terrified of them. That's why I went backyard at first, but. Yeah, it's cool. I can't wait to see this from like the sidelines. So that's rad, man. I like this. Okay, so we have another question. Are you actually a golfer yourself, Kurt?
Not really, surprisingly.
Not really?
I maybe go once a year, like with my dad, but like most years it's been not at all. So no, I just know some golf terms. I've got some friends that golf a lot. I don't know. I just think it's a cool format of a sport and unique scoring system. And I don't know. It was just something unique. And that's why I went with it. I thought of the idea. And then the more I thought about it, the more I figured out how it could work and how I could connect kind of the formatting of golf or the lingo of it with what we're doing out on the trails. I was like, oh yeah, this is fun. I got something here. But no, I'm not really a golfer at all. I'm not good. It takes me, if I do golf, it's usually not a full 18 holes. It's like 9 holes, and it's not till like the 9th hole that I get my like drive down, and I'm not just hooking it off to the right or whatever, or slicing whichever term it is. I don't even know which term it is because I don't golf that much.
Yeah, I can drive a ball like a million yards, but I can never make it go straight anyway. So there's no way I'd ever be good at it. So I want to back up a little bit to how I actually met you, Kirk.
Sure.
Okodoke races. It was my second sub ultra trail race that I did, and I didn't know what to expect. Yeah, I drove a couple hours up there, camped out the night before with ended up being some awesome people. I got to meet Jeff. He's super rad, and then that morning I ran Okodoke, and it changed my life, man. Like just the atmosphere that you provided, just that everybody provided. And it always stuck with me. There's something that I saw you do, and I can't speak for everyone, but I saw you give everybody some time at that finish line that day, and all the way up until the last people, which was, I was bringing up the rear with the back of the pack, and that's something that always stuck with me. And I guess it's not a question. It's just something I wanted to say and kind of give you a shout out. That's something that you don't see a lot. In a lot of events, but trail racing, is different obviously than road running. But that's just something that always stuck with me. Not a question. It's just something that always like really impressed me. And it's kind of why I've always, as soon as I got this platform, I wanted to talk to you more. So just more of just a shout out, man. That was just, it meant something to me that Okotoks Trail Races did.
Yeah,
certainly.
I really appreciate that. Thanks. Yeah, you had told me that before, and you put that in your that article you wrote about it. But what I want to say about that is that mostly stems from like I just really like the races I put on. I put them on because I would love to go do it. I would love to go run it, and I wanted to build more of a community in my area with trail runners and meet more people. And so when I put on the race, I don't get to run it, and I don't often see the people because they're out running it. So it's not till they get back from the course that I'm able to like talk to them. And I just want to like talk to people, get to know them. And I want to ask how the race was, how the course was. Cause I'm like trying to live, vicariously through them. Cause I'm like, I want to know what it's like to run these races. That's why I put them on because they excite me. So I want to be like, how was your race? How was it? How were the trails out there? Was it great? Like, what'd you think about this portion? And then I'm like, what trails do you run back home? Like it's my time to be with the trail running community, get to know them, find out how the race was and stuff. So that's one thing that's got me really excited about this new format, Trail Golf, is they're going to be coming back each hour, and they're going to have a lot of downtime because a lot of people will finish within, a half hour, 45 minutes of that hour. And so they'll have time to be back, chit chat, talk and stuff. And I'll be able to be, with my people and talk with them and see how it all is. So I'm really excited about that. Not just me being with them, but everybody being with each other. Cause that's something I hear from some of the other runners at the races is like, hey, I had a great time. I talked to some people, but I wish I got to talk with more. And, they were maybe much faster than me or slower than me. And so I only saw them for a little bit. And with this sort of format, similar to the Backyard Ultra, everyone comes back every hour. So you're going to be with the community each hour, no matter if you're front of the pack, back of the pack, mid pack. So that's something that's going to be really special about this and that I'm excited for.
Yeah, that's going to be so cool. Like I've done 2 backyards now, and I still talk and run with people that I've done my first 2 backyards with. So it's going to be cool that you create something kind of like that. Because I mean, my favorite running friend of mine I met at a backyard, and that backyard, I still talk to some of those people, and I actually keep in touch with some people from Okotoks still, which is cool too. It's kind of cool, the community that's being formed around here. It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
So why Creekside Trails? I think you mentioned you live close, but why Creekside Trails?
First of all, I just want to apologize. I am outside, so you're going to hear sounds. There's a dog barking right now. I'm sorry if you can hear that, but why Creekside Trails? Fun place. So they're built by or headed up by a lot of the mountain bikers in the area. So they like to make, winding trails, single tracks, some kind of ups and downs and bumps and stuff. And those are the kind of trails that I like, that they're hard to find around here. Cause a lot of, I don't know who's in charge of making some of the trails around here for bikes or whatever, but or maybe it's just a product of our environment being so flat, but so many trails around here are just like nice, smooth, paved, crushed gravel, or like just easy going trails. And I'm like, yeah, it's all right if I'm just doing a training run and I'm just trying to get the miles in, but like, I want to be out there and explore and like be winding back and forth and going up and down. And I love that variability of trail running. So when I can run on trails like that, I really love them. Creekside is all about that. There's only a few sections that are kind of flat and straight, but most of it is winding up and down, single track through the woods around cool features. So that's why I really love Creekside, because the mountain bikers around here, they know how to make it right.
Yeah, I agree, man. I love that course. I can't wait to come back for Okotoks. It's yeah, there's not a lot of straight. If it is, it's uphill, I guess. But Yeah, it's just a constant switchback for 18 miles.
Yeah.
It's a rad course. It's a rad course.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, I want to talk about tempo run
Oh,
timing
sure.
and events. How did that start? And yeah, let's get into that.
Sure. Yeah. So that started out of when I was getting into running. I wanted to give back to the community, and I was looking for some different cross country teams in the area, high school teams that I could volunteer for. One of which was Wheeler High School here in Valparaiso. I had reached out, and one of the head coaches got back to me. He's like, "Yeah, come on out, or like let's meet up. We'll talk and stuff." And in that initial conversation, he briefly mentioned something about wanting to start up a timing company, and so that kind of stuck with me. I went on to be like an assistant coach with that team and volunteer with them for a few years, and then fast forward just like a couple years, I was looking to put on some races through Trailblazer running, and I was like, okay, so what's needed to put on some races? Well, timing is one of them. I'm like, I hear that's expensive. Can I do it myself? And so I was looking up what are some DIY timing things that I can do. And I found like this article that was like, oh, you can build your own system. You can use this software and, piecemeal it together. And so I was looking that up. I'm like, oh, that's not that difficult. I can figure that out. And I reached back out to that. Louis Guillen is his name, my business partner now. I was like, hey, are you still looking to start up like a timing company? And he was like, yeah, man, I just bought some equipment. You want to do this? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we got together and we tested out the equipment. We got it to work. And then we're like, okay, we need to, fortunately he still is the coach at Wheeler High School. So we were able to time some of their races, test out some things. We reached out to Paul Stofko, Crazy Legs Running. And his races
Crazy
traditionally, he has like a stopwatch himself. He gives people popsicle sticks. He does it old school. And we were like, hey, like, I know your races are small, but like, can we time them? Like, we won't charge you much. We just want to figure this stuff out. And he's like, yeah, come on out. And we did a few of them for free, and then did them very low cost for him because he's just a great guy. And just learned how to time the races, how to use the equipment, how to troubleshoot stuff, how to do things how to figure it out when things go wrong. And eventually we just did bigger and bigger races. We started working for some bigger schools, some bigger like invites for cross country. And then we got into track timing, which we just finished up that season, which that's a whole different kind of timing, but similar kind of concept, uses different equipment, different software. And we just got into that. Louis, my business partner, he's more into the track side of it. So he knows a lot about how that works. I knew nothing about how track meets work and all that, but I'm pretty good with technology. So he's really good at like knowing how the events work and getting the in with the schools, because he's a teacher, he's a coach, and he just knows a bunch of people. And then I'm really good on like the technology side, figuring out how to make it work timing wise, how to work with the technology, how to systematize things, how to create like videos and step-by-step stuff so other people can do it as well. And so we pair up really well there. And that's it. That company, that race timing company, I've gotten to work with so many different races, different 5Ks, different marathons, different trail races. I time stuff for Ignite Trail Series, which is one out in at Channel Lakes races. They do the IT 100. We don't time that one, but like they put on those races.
Oh.
And through race timing, I've also kind of accelerated my learning curve of race directing, because I'm around all these races. I see what goes on. I see, maybe the pitfalls of some races. I see what they do well, and I'm able to incorporate that into my races. So there's a synergistic component of being able to time races and put races on myself.
That's so cool how that all comes together for you. That's amazing. Question though, how far will you travel for races?
How far
Is it
will
mostly
I
the
travel?
Midwest, or do you travel anywhere outside of it?
I mean, if the opportunity comes along and it's a race I want to be at, I will travel to it if they pay the right price. But how far we have traveled, I the furthest ones I've done were just a couple hours away, Channel Lakes, for me, and then that was I did they have a 24-hour race out there, and I did a 12-hour race for Kim Hardin. She's got the Armed Forces Endurance Run. It's a 12-hour, 8-hour, 4-hour. That was a couple hours away for me. But we've timed some races down in Wabash, or not Wabash. I think it's Wabash. There was one where it was more central or southern Indiana that we came out to. But I mean, we'll travel the races. We'll drive to them. Usually it's going to be within a few hours of us, but if we know in advance, it helps if it's like a bigger race, either a lot of people or a bigger distance where it's like it's worth us going to. It's worth people paying us to come there for it. It's not just like a small, local 5K that maybe has under 100 people at it.
Oh, you said Channel Lakes, and then you timed IT 100.
IT 100 is a race that Ignite Series puts on. I'm not the one that times that. We're not the one that times that, okay. But the other races they put on, which is like the Glacial Esker 24-hour, and they've got the Ignite Trail Marathon and Half Marathon. Cool. Those are ones that we've timed. And
I was like, if you time, it'd be so rad if you timed the IT 100. I just signed up for that today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a cool race. I'd like to go out there and volunteer for that. Be part of it. That's end of October, right?
Yeah, October 12th and 13th.
Beginning of October. So I've got, I'll be running No Business 100, I think like the week or two after that. That's the thing I'm doing, but I'll see if usually October is kind of busy for us with like timing races, but if I'm able to be out there, I want to go out and volunteer for it because I just love that the race director is great, and there's a lot of local people that go out and run that, so I'd love to be out there for it.
Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed. I know a lot of the ITR crew will be there, so it'd be pretty cool to be there, be a part of it. Yeah, I actually signed up for No Business too, but I'm like number 260 something on the waiting list. I'm like, I'm probably not going to get in. And
maybe not.
after I heard how hard it is, I was just like, maybe this is a blessing in disguise. And I want to get back to you training for No Business too, actually. We do have a question though, and this is a good question also. So running an event company, a tiny company, race directing, you're training for stuff to yourself and your father too. How do you balance all this stuff?
Yeah, so it wasn't mentioned yet on a podcast, but I'm a father. I got 2 young kids, Charlie and Joanna. They're 4 and 2, and my lovely wife Christina. Yes, so got a family. I train for races myself. I have this trail race company. I time races. I also have a full-time job on top of that. This race company and the timing company, those are part-time things. Those are my side gigs. I have a full-time job outside of that. So yeah, how do I balance all that? I best I can. Not really well. I was listening to I think it was your podcast with Chad Sullivan, and you asked him a similar question, and his answer was like, I do my best. And that's kind of my thing, is like, I have a lot of aspirations or plans of what I would like to do and accomplish and what I think I can get done in a day or week, month. And then usually it's about half of those things that I actually do. So it's trying to be opportunistic about my time. If I'm able to, like, for my training, if I'm able to run in the morning, or maybe at night, maybe it's after the kids go down and I go run, or maybe it's a stroller run, or maybe I if I'm able to bring them like to the YMCA, they've got like 2 hours of free childcare, and I can go out and do a run during that. So just trying to think ahead, be opportunistic about when I can get runs in. With race timing and race directing, most of the work I do that isn't on race day is done at night. It's done like after the kids go down for bed. It's done late at night. I'm usually like a night owl because that's just time when I can have to myself to do stuff. It's quiet. No one's bothering me. I can just work on things. If I have time during like my lunch break at work or something, I'll try to do something really quick. Or, if I got to run some errands, I'll do it during that time. Or like be on a call with someone, I'll do it during that time. So it's trying to find little pockets of time and, pouncing on them and being like, all right, well, this is the time I'm going to do it, and being okay with that, and being okay with not being able to do everything. Like there's a lot of things I want to do that I couldn't get done for like this race or other races or my training. If I can't get in a run for a day, it's like, all right, I'll just try to do something maybe a little bit more tomorrow or something a little bit different. So giving yourself enough grace to not do everything, and then being opportunistic about the time that you do have.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna keep asking this question. I'm gonna keep taking notes every guest I have. Everybody I interview does so many things, and I'm still kind of new. Like, I'm training for stuff too. I work a full-time job as well, and I've got my side business stuff. So my internal joke is just like I'm just asking for myself whenever I ask that question now. Yeah, that's rad, man. So I want to talk about no business. How's that? So I signed up for 100 miler.
Mm-hmm.
So how's training going? Like, what do I have to look forward to for training for 100 miler? Like, just give me all the nitty gritty of getting ready for something like no business, which I heard is an extremely hard race. Like when I've told people that I even put my name on the waiting list, they're like, oh, like no business.
Yeah.
I was just like, all right. So just run me through like kind of what you're going through with that.
Yeah, just a lot of running. So I outsourced my training program to a certified coach because I don't know what I'm doing with my training. So Reese, his name's Reese. Oh, his last name is so hard to pronounce, and I asked him about this yesterday. Slobodaninook is his last name. It's like Russian or something, but Reese, he's a really fast runner. He coaches for Ornery Mule racing, and has run a bunch of their races, set some fast times, but he knows what he's doing. He puts together a race plan for me, and I just follow it because I love just being able to look at a plan and be like, oh, I'm running 8 miles today. Okay, I'll go run that. Or like, oh, today is a treadmill workout with incline, and I'm doing like a mile at 10%, a mile at 12%, a mile at 15% or something, and doing that. And I can just look at the plan and be like, oh, okay, that's what I'll do. I don't have to think about how it's going to help me or how I'm going to get there. I can just follow the plan. So that being said, I can only tell you like what I've done so far. I don't know what my plan is moving forward because I only know it when I see it like the day of or a few days before. So what I have been doing is other than building just a strong base of a lot of miles, a lot of time on feet, my coach has been prescribing me some runs of kind of one I just mentioned where I'm on like a treadmill and just increasing the incline steadily over time, and then doing some like fast runs after doing a climb, so that you're figuring out how to get a climb and get a steady climb and do it like at a reasonable pace, and then going into like a strong hike, and then getting to like a summit and being able to be on flat and run for a while. So being on really tired legs from climbing, but still being able to run at like a quick pace, like a 5K pace or something. I don't know. We do a lot of climbs. He tells me all my long runs, he's like, do it as hilly as possible. Find wherever you can to do the most hills, which for me is usually at the Indiana Dunes, which is a little different because they're mostly sand dunes, and the climbing on that is not like normal climbing because every step you take, you like go down like 6 inches. So it's like you might only have like a 100-foot climb, but it feels like a 300-foot climb or something because like you're just going down each step. So I feel like I didn't really answer your question well, but my training is just a lot of running and a lot of climbing when I can get it, because there's not a whole lot of vert around here in flatland.
Yeah. Man, yeah,
So,
that's no kidding. Any treadmill work at all in that plan?
yeah, so that treadmill work, when I need to get a certain amount of vert in, or like very specific percentages of incline, yes, that will be on a treadmill, just because you can really dial it into how you want it, and you can get consistent climbs, which I cannot get consistent climbs around here beyond like a quarter mile. So yes, anything where I need consistent climbing is on a treadmill. And then if it's over the winter, I trained all through the winter, and if there were times where it was like really icy outside, I would do it on treadmill, because I'm like, I don't want to fall and hurt myself, which I had done one time. Before I was very hesitant to like run on treadmill, because I'm like, oh, it's the treadmill. I hate doing it. But then I had a run I did in the winter where it was icy outside, and I went around a turn, and my feet just slipped out from under me, fell on like my tailbone. I like couldn't walk well for like a day, and I was like, oh, like I must have broke something. I did something bad. Turned out it was, I don't know, just inflation or something was pushing on a nerve, and I was fine like a couple days later. But that really scared me. I'm like, that could have been so much worse. That could have totally sidelined my training. I could have been out for like months. And so that from then on, anytime it was like really cold and icy outside, I was like, I'm just going to go on a treadmill and get my run in that way, because it's just much safer, and it's really not that bad being on a treadmill once you get used to it. I mean, you can I can like watch something. Like I can bring like an iPad with me and just like catch up on a show or something while I'm running, or really listen to a podcast intently and just kind of zone out. So it's just different. It's a really good training tool using a treadmill. I'm not against them anymore. I like it when it's needed.
Yeah, I agree. I used to crap on treadmills up until maybe just like 2 months ago. Because I'm like, yeah, like saying that, kind of like what you said, the treadmill and blah, blah, blah. And then this last winter, I mean, it got kind of cold, and my wife at one point, it got down to like -2. And she was just like, I don't want you to run outside. Because I mean, she's worked in EMS her whole life up until recently, and you can't like take that out of her. So she's just like, bad things happen to people in -2-degree weather. So I started running on a treadmill, and then we finally got like this hand-me-down one of our own. And like you said, man, it's like such a great tool. And if I need to catch up on YouTube or something, I can actually watch it and pay attention to a podcast I want to listen to instead of worrying about like slipping and falling on the ice and like knocking myself out in the dead of winter. But I agree. Certainly agree with the treadmill. It's a tool, and you can add vert to it. I mean, it's right there in your home, or the gym or whatever. It's cool. So you got a coach. I actually just got my first coach 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago. So same thing. I like being able to just like open up my calendar, and it's just like, well, I'm going to run tempo today, or 2.5 hours easy with a 30-minute threshold run in the middle. That's cool. I did the same thing recently. Broke down. I got a coach. I got tired of thinking about just now I don't have to. So that's great.
Yeah.
So
how'd you get connected with your coach? I'm curious, like, how'd you find one?
Do you know Garrett from Trail Trash Pod?
Yeah.
He actually introduced me to his coach, Matt
Okay.
Daniels. He's a super Garrett. I don't remember how me and Garrett met. Well, I did one of his podcasts that he's going to release, and me and him kind of keep in touch ever since. He's from Indiana, so we have like that, that
Oh,
bond.
cool. Yeah, I just started listening to their podcast because Chad Sullivan was on it. They interviewed him, and so I started listening to some of theirs. I'm like, oh man, they got some good guests on here. Like I love their dynamic. They got like the 2 or 3 hosts that are doing it. But that's cool. So Garrett introduced you to somebody, his coach. Yeah. I got connected with my coach through Ornery Mule. I ran the Frozen Gnome 50K in where is that? It's in Illinois. But he was there at the race. I started talking to him. He told me he mentioned he was a coach, and I heard about some of the races he was doing. And like when I had a coach in the past, but then I got injured. No fault to her, but I got injured and kind of fell off that for a while. And then when I was getting more serious and signed up for the 100, I'm like, I really need a coach. And then I had talked to him recently and kind of, we just clicked, and then reached out to him and had him coach me. He's been great. So yeah, it's weird how we like get connected with different people in the trail running world.
Yeah, I was super stoked that Garrett was, broke the ice for me. I wouldn't reach out on my own, but
yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, shout out to Garrett, shout out to Matt Daniels. So I got to ask, so Trailblazer running, is there any other projects you're working on, or like, is there anything coming up the pipeline that you can talk about? Maybe.
I'm so glad you asked. Yeah. So my next project I'm working on, which I don't know the full feasibility of it, if I can make it happen, but this is a thing I'm working on is, are you familiar with the Knobstone Trail in Southern Indiana?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So you are familiar with it. Have you hiked it before?
A little bit of it, not much.
A little bit of it? Okay, so
yeah.
For those of you that don't know that are listening, Knobstone Trail is the longest continuous footpath in Indiana. It covers 47 plus miles on the actual path. If you look on the FKT website, fastest known time, there is a path marked out, or that is 50 miles exactly, that some people have ran. There used to be a race down there that ran the full 50, did a 50K, did marathon, half marathon in early 2000s. Abe Underhill, who ran Okadoke, who you might know him, he let me know about this trail and suggested, hey, this would probably be a great trail to have a race on. And so I looked it up, and the more I looked it up, the more I found out about it. I was like, wow, this is a cool trail. I think it deserves to have a race on it. And so I reached out to different organizations that were involved with that trail and was like, hey, I'm interested in putting on a race here. Who do I need to talk to? Who knows about this? And so they connected me with a guy who used to put on a race there back in early 2000. And he invited me out. He was like, hey, we're going down there. This was, September of last year. He's like, we're going down there with some buddies. We're gonna stay in a cabin. We're gonna go run the trails. How about you come out? I'll tell you all about it. You can run some of the trails with us. I'm like, sure, yes. So I went out there. He brought a bunch of like maps and documents and printed out emails and everything from when he put on the race. Just showed it to me. He's like, here, like this is all the information. I would love for there to be another race out here. He's like, let me help you however I can. And so I did that. I started looking up how I could do it, and then I went out and actually ran it the whole distance, south to north, from Deem Lake to Delaney, in April. I think it was April 13th. I ran it with a couple of people, and it's way better than I thought it was gonna be. Like, I looked up pictures of it. I saw some videos. The only videos I could find on it were people like hiking it. So mostly it's them talking about how they have to set up their camp and hike some of the paths. There's nobody running it. So I wasn't really sure what it was going to be like when I ran it, but it was like way better than I thought. It's so gnarly. It's like there's they like don't believe in switchbacks. So there's all these like straight up and down through like these escarpments, and throughout the whole thing, it's 10,000 feet of gain, which is ridiculous for Indiana. That's like a mountain race in Colorado, practically over 50 miles. So you're using poles. The people I ran with were using poles. If anybody was going to run it, I would definitely recommend using poles. Your legs get so worn out by the end, and it's beautiful. Like I thought there was going to be, looking at like a map of where it's at. I thought like when you're up on like the top of the escarpments, maybe you would see like farmland or industrial area, and it wouldn't be all that like scenic. But like when you're out there, you feel like you're in just the wilderness. It's awesome. Like the only signs of civilization you get are when you go across like the road crossings and some of the trailheads. But like you're out in the wild out there. It feels awesome. So I'm excited to try to organize that. I have kind of put that on the back burner the past couple months because I've been trying to put together trail golf and my other races. But right after trail golf's done and I've got a little bit of break, I'm going to be working on trying to push that, organize that race. Cool. So that is what I think is going to be the next big thing. If I can get the permitting, the approval for it, and get the plan together, that's what I'm really excited about, is putting something on at the Knobstone trails.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that, man. That's killer.
Yeah. I think it would be an instant like classic for Midwest trail running, and such a cool distance, being 50 miles. We don't have too many of those, and like anywhere in the U.S. that are just like dedicated 50 miles.
Yeah, that's rad. That's rad. I can't wait to hear more about this. So real quick before we go, we're almost out of time. These are never long enough. I want to do a section where I ask what's in people's earbuds or playlists. So Kurt, what are you listening to these days while out on the run?
So most of the time when I'm listening to anything auditory, it's a podcast. I love learning. I love hearing about different races. I love being connected with the trail running community. So I'm mostly listening to podcasts. But when I'm listening to music, I would classify it as, my favorite kind of music is like indie rock or like folk rock. So good example of some music I like is like Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. Michael Now is spelled N-A-U. And then more like rock stuff like the Black Keys or the Strokes. I really love that kind of music, kind of, garage rock stuff. And then just kind of folk stuff, not quite country, but like where it's kind of story driven. I love like when the vocalists, when the music really gets like a feeling out there, and it's not always like a happy feeling, but it's like a real feeling. So I love music that taps into that. So those are the kind of things I listen to.
Cool, man. Beautiful. I'm not too far from you there. Let me just say thank you so much for coming, and let me chat with you some more. It's been awesome getting to know you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you this weekend, actually. I can't wait to be on the other side of these. I can't wait to be on the other side of these events. And Kurt, man, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing, man. You're creating a cool community.
Will do. Thank you so much for inviting me on and having me on your platform. This is so cool. I'm excited for you. Being able to do this, it's been cool watching you get more integrated with the trail running community, coming from being out at Okadoke and then, being interviewed for like Hard Prairie and having your own podcasts and articles and stuff. So it's been cool to watch.
Yeah, thank you, man. I love this community, and the more I dive deep, the more I love it. So, all right, Kurt, man, thank you for your time, and I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, we'll see you Saturday or Friday, actually. So
yeah,
all right.
heck yeah.
Bye.